Hey, family, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Conversations with, yes, us two. I'm MJ and she is.
Lady Des.
And once again, we are here with the extraordinaire, the guru himself, somebody I can call whenever I am in need of direction, the one and only Matt Genius. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here. Happy to be here once more. Thank you for having me, guys.
Most definitely. So, a quick recap of some of the things that we spoke about the other day. We know that the elections racked up, and a lot of people were happy, a lot of people were sad, and then in the midst of that, also um, our community as a whole were in the midst of losing family members and friends that were dear to us. So we thought that it would be fitting to have a show to talk about how do we start to heal from the election anxiety, the election
Yeah,
depression, depression, and the loss of close friends and family.
yeah.
Wait,
This is a.
yes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What's the last part you said?
I said, and we wanted to also talk about the loss of friends and family.
Okay. Yes, this is such an important topic because I feel it. I've been to several funerals over the course of a month and some change, and with the election and the loss of a pioneer down in South Florida, I felt the weight, and so I wanted to make sure that I could be available to you guys and your audience to answer any questions, to give some practical advice from a mental health professional, to make sure that we're healing or starting that journey towards getting back to our better selves.
Most definitely. So, Matt, let's first start off with talking about the election. Um, a lot of people were expecting a different outcome, or a lot of people that I've spoke to say that they were expecting a different outcome. And when that outcome didn't happen, a lot of people were, I guess, lost.
Right, right.
Well, you know what, MJ, let's kind of channel back even prior to that day,
Okay.
election day, or even after. I think the anxiety had already started building. And
Yeah.
when you mention election anxiety, I had never heard that term, but it was just so befitting because I heard a lot of people either didn't want to vote, they didn't know who to vote for. It was just, it's especially our newer generation, right? It was like, I don't know what to do, and I don't want to do the wrong thing and then feel bad after the fact. So I think that buildup started happening even way before November 5th.
You're right, but I heard it from a different angle, and the angle that I heard it from, people were saying, "Okay, I'm not going to watch any more of the
Mm,
news. I'm not going to watch the debate. I don't want to know what the results are." Because it was just information overload. And just like we spoke with Matt before, I guess it was similar to when COVID happened, and we were watching the amount of deaths that just
mm,
kept happening, and kept happening.
right.
People were just like, "Oh my God, what do I do next?" So, yeah, Matt, what do we do?
What do we do? Sorry about that. I think the first thing we have to do is acknowledge where we are as a people. We are in a space where we've been dealing with a lot over the past maybe 5 years or so, right? From the pandemic, which was 2020 to 2021, 22-ish, kind of squeezed in there a little bit. And we're still feeling the remnants of that because a lot of the anniversaries of the people who have passed, are coming up. And then with the anxiety from the election, all these things kind of play into where we are and then how we respond to stimulus that are outside of us. For example, the election. The election is something that causes a lot of anxiety, and it's done intentionally. The media has a job to do, and the media does its job well to then penetrate your minds and your hearts to create a level of anxiety. And when we're anxious, one of the main things that happen is that we lose our capacity to make healthy decisions. We lose our capacity to think rationally. We lose our capacity to then show up authentic as ourselves. And so we follow the crowd. right? We're in a survival mode now where our instinct starts to kick in, where we're in fight or flight mode based on the anxiety. And when we're there, it's not healthy for us. It's not healthy for us. It's not healthy for our environment. It's not healthy for our kids that are watching us. And so for those who have been experiencing anxiety even before the election, starting from the pandemic, and then during the election, I would say, please acknowledge where you are. It's okay to be there, you know, but start the journey towards healing. And it starts with acknowledgement first. You know, I can't help anyone that doesn't acknowledge they have an issue. Once you acknowledge you have that issue, then you can start that pathway of healing. And the first place that I would say start your healing is, of course, calling on your higher power, right? Go into God. Go to that safe place. Find a Bible verse, a favorite verse for me. And I said it last time, is that verse that says, let not your hearts be troubled. That was an important verse to give the disciples upon Christ's departure. He was telling them, hey, listen, we're going through some rough times right now, but remember what you believe in. Remember where your faith lies. Remember these things, because it's important to then reset your mind. When we're misaligned with that information, with that knowledge of who God is and what God wants us to be, that's when we start to then fall susceptible to anxiety and all those other emotions like stress that aren't good for us. So call back on that power that is given to us by the word of God, by the memory of recalling, by prayer, by whatever means that you know that's possible to get back to that positive self, that positive mind frame of hope, and then start then looking for different outlets, such as a therapeutic person like myself, such as music, such as dance, such as food, whatever way that works for you. Go towards that journey, start it off, and then if you need more assistance, that's when I'll say go seek professional help.
Are there different levels to loss?
Oh yeah, right. So grief and loss comes in a variety of forms. You know, when we spoke about this during the pandemic, we had sort of like an ambiguous sort of loss, meaning we lost a sense of culture, we lost a sense of belonging, we lost our fellow. We lost a sense of normalcy. And that's not necessarily a physical, tangible things. It's the essence of us commuting together, being in close proximity with each other, giving each other hugs, high fives, fist bumps, being in the same space with each other. We lost a lot of those things that were normal for us. And when you pull somebody out of their normalcy, there's a level of grief, because I'm leaving a state of reality to then transition into another state that I may not be prepared to accept. And so therefore, that loss that's not necessarily a physical, tangible loss still registers to me as something that I'm not ready to let go of to then go somewhere else. And so for those who expected a result during the election, they had a specific outcome in their minds, their emotions were attached to, that they didn't receive. And so therefore, it placed them in a state of grief because they didn't receive that. And so now I'm forcing myself to be okay with the new reality that I didn't necessarily sign up for, and that hurts. You know, that's where grief comes in, and grief shows up in many forms, as in denial. Some of us still can't believe this happened, as in bargaining. We're still trying to rationalize, trying to make sense of it. Anger, even, of course, you're going to be angry because the normal space that you were in, the expectation that you decided that you wanted didn't show up. So of course it's okay to be angry. Your needs aren't being met. And then the last few stages is depression or sadness, and then finally acceptance. But once we get into acceptance, doesn't matter the type of loss it is, once we get into acceptance, the ride isn't over yet, right? You may find yourself relapsing back into denial, back into sadness or anger. It's a journey that eventually makes us stronger to then be okay, to then power through based on our level of coping that we've built up.
Now, let me ask you this, Matt. Now that the loss has happened, there are people that are still stuck in moving forward because of the unknown, the whole fear of, now, how do I adjust? Especially with the loss of a loved one, whether even through a divorce or a broken relationship. However, it's like, now, how do I move forward, into the unknown, because I just got so comfortable having these people around, or even talking about the election. What is getting ready to happen now? Because we hear so much is getting ready to happen, Project 2025 and the like, right? So it's like, Are we losing our freedom? What is going to happen? There are so many people that are afraid and stuck to move forward in the unknown.
This is a tough one to answer because I remember being stuck in a lot of spaces where it allowed me to feel like I can't move, you know? And that's a natural response when you're anxious, when you're fearful. Your body can go into fight, flight, or freeze mode, meaning you're stuck in a reality to where you're not ready to leave the previous understanding or the space that you've dwelled, but you're not ready to move forward either. So you're stuck in this space, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Imagine the value that you have to leave behind in the consciousness of what you have, right? If it's a person that you valued, that person took up space inside your life, right? And it's not just a physical space, it's an emotional space, it's a spiritual connection, all these different things that we now have to let go. We may not be prepared, but there's a different way of looking at it that shows the value of what is being lost, right? When we look at loss, we just look at the absence of it. But the absence of it should tell you the value of its presence, meaning now I have the opportunity to reflect on the richness of having the opportunity that I had to spend time with this person, being this person's present, share the stories that made me laugh, smile, joy, hope, right? All these different things that are a part of the reality that I'm leaving behind. I don't have to leave that behind. I can take it with me. In fact, it's in me. There are people that I haven't spoken to because, you know, they're past, so I haven't had relationship with them in a while, but they are still fresh in my mind. You know, the mind is an incredible place when it's not stressed out. We can recall more information when we're in a better state. If you're anxious, if you're nervous, if you're fearful, then your intellectual capacity diminishes. Your opportunity to recall short and long-term memory goes down. And so that's why it's good to get back to a healthy self by calling on a verse, right? By speaking a word, by reading scripture, by doing those things that are healthy for you to get your mind clear. And then please share of the memories of the value of the person, the place, the thing, even the expectation. It's not a crime to still have hope of a better future. We can still have these expectations. I think what we do is we allow what the media says and where the media is to then prescribe what we should then feel or think. They have a job to do. They will put the information out there. We have a job to do to protect our minds, our hearts, and our spirits to make sure that our yoke is always easy. What does that mean? That means you're attaching to that higher self, that Christ-centered individual that understands that he is in the world, but not of the world. So I can't attach myself to this reality that's weighing down heavy on so many people. What do I attach myself to? To a hope of something better coming, to a hope of a better tomorrow, to a hope of something greater. And I can still hope, even though I have no evidence of it. The evidence is in here and in here.
You know what? And that's perfect comparison of the scriptures, because the Bible scriptures speak so candidly about the mind. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Because when your mind is sound, when your mind is clear, you can make better decisions. You know how to maneuver. When your mind becomes cloudy and confused and manipulated, your decisions usually 9 times out of 10 is based off of that. So I think that was a perfect breakdown of a lot of the scriptures that the Bible speaks of pertaining to the mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's a safe space for me all the time to fall on scripture.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What does rationalization look like for the path to healing?
Right. So go ahead, break that down some more for me.
Because it's like everybody has a different perception on how you should feel, or how you should hurt, or how one should go through and how fast somebody should get over. Not necessarily the election, but when you lose someone, how does one begin to rationalize the steps to making it with other people looking at them saying, you know what, I know what you feel, or I know how you feel, but you're still going through this. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. We think that how we feel and how we react should be the golden standard of how everybody else should then go through their journey. And it's not ill intentions there. It's not ill intent. I think what people are trying to do is give their best from where they are. And sometimes it come off as being insensitive or being, like you're not aligned with where I am, or you just don't understand. When the truth of the matter is, there is something that's even better than the golden rule. Somebody just put me up on this new, it's not new, but this new way of thinking, which is called the platinum rule, right? Treat people how they want to be treated, right? Where they are should be acknowledged and respected, right? And so if a person is having a little bit more, what we would call difficulty, but needs a little bit more time to then process and go through this healing journey, that's their journey, right? And then a major difference of where we are and where we used to be. I'm a young person, but an old soul. I read a lot of books about, our forefathers and our ancestors and how they managed different things. And when I look and read these stories that were passed down, we grieve collectively, meaning what you felt, MJ, I felt it, and if you felt it and I felt it, guess what? It was a little bit lighter for you to carry that because I had your back, right? And then what I felt, Lady Des, you felt as well. So we came together as a collective. We shared stories. We cried together. We laughed together. We shared together. Now it's diminished to just a weekend. Just a weekend. And then, we memorialize it and then we're back to business, right? Because the bottom line is the bottom line, the dollar sign, right? Get them back to work, right? When we need more time as individuals to then process some of these things. There are so many different forms of grief that I know people are managing that they have not acknowledged because society doesn't think it's okay, right? Somebody lost a dog, somebody will make light of that. Like that's not something to grieve over, but that was their companion. That was their friend, that was their child even, And so who am I to then diminish how a person's feel and how a person processes what their loss is and their experience is? What I would say is that stay on a healthy line of grieving, right? What that means is that don't allow yourself to be taken over by the grief. Don't let the grief become your identity, meaning you wear it as a badge of honor. This is where I am and I don't want to move. I want to just hold on to this. That's a different way to approach it, to where you don't have to be rigid in your heart. Your heart doesn't have to be hardened, to not be open to receive love and to also give love as well. From where we are in this grieving state, we can both receive it and give it. And so find that balance for yourself. Don't let anybody rush you. And then if necessary, always seek the professional to then help cultivate the understanding of what this would look like on a journey, whether it's 6 months, a year, or however long you may need to grieve. Make sure you're doing it in a healthy way.
I'm glad that you mentioned about seeking professional help because, in our culture, a lot of times it's taboo for us to reach out to, a professional or even someone else that you would talk to tell, what's happening with you. I grew up with what happens in your house stays in your house, So how does one find the perfect match?
This is something that I think that we should do more of, right? We pray for a good everything, right? Jesus, take the wheel out. I'm trying to find a good avocado in Publix, right? Or whatever it is, right? So, when I do presentations at churches, I tell people all the time, pray to be led to a great therapist. Pray for that person to then understand you and allow the atmosphere that they create, because we do create an atmosphere. It's our job and responsibility to create the right atmosphere per client. It's not the same per client. And so we have to be cognizant enough as a professional to understand where that person is, set up that understanding in our hearts, and then journey with that person at their pace, making them feel safe at every stage, from the introduction to wherever they are, how they journey, and then at the very end, when we're discharging that person, making sure they still feel like they have access to us. If they need to come back, they can always come back, because that's what we're here for. So that journey could look like this. Start with a Google search. There are plenty of different websites where you can go and search up different mental health professional. The one that I'm on is called Psychology Today. There's also another one called Therapy for Black Men. There's another one called Therapy for Black Girls. These are all sites where you can put in your zip code and find a therapist of choice. You can call them. Some of them have free consultations. Some of them have great information and reviews on their websites where you can look them up. I say keep on shopping until you find that one. When you find that one, lock them in and then share them with a friend, because there are other people that may need that good person as well. Because I promise you, not all therapists are created equal. I was in classes with some of these folks, and although they're degreed and they're certified, they may not have the heart or compassion to be present when people actually need them.
You know, you just helped me. You helped me with my bestie situation just now because you just told me sometimes you got to
I
meet
knew you
people
was
where
gonna
they
say
are.
it.
You got to meet them where they are. So
Yes,
there
you
you
do.
have it. I'm going to meet you where you are, Lady Des.
Yes,
MJ
you
knows
do.
I love you. We're not gonna go. We're not gonna do this tonight.
Listen,
But Matt,
we are healing. That's what we're
we
doing.
are. Well, you are healing. I think I'm healed.
I'm glad you feel that way. You
Oh
know,
God.
a lot of times what happens in dealing with loss is that, like Matt said, our expectations are here when we just have to meet the person
Well,
where
they
they are.
are.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but you know what, Matt?
Right.
I learn a person. I learn their moves, their vibes, how they are, and I just take it for what it is. And you know, if something go off or something go wrong, and the pattern's off, I was like, well, this is how I know them to be. You know what I'm saying? I know they don't mean no harm.
Right, right.
So I just, you know, and even with my staff, that's what I did, you know, when I operated with, because everybody is different. Everybody works different. Everybody receives things different. So I was intentional about learning each person because it just helped me to better know how to deal with them. So if something is off, I didn't feel like it was towards me. You understand what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that
And
makes a
then
lot of sense.
I know where to meet them at. I know how to approach them. So I didn't take it to heart.
9 times out of 10, you should have.
But I do have a question though, Matt.
Sure,
I
yes.
really do. You mentioned it and it caught my attention earlier on in the interview where you talked about how we can be in survival mode, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's a place where a lot of people get stuck and comfortable. But my question to you is survival mode a good place to be in and to stay at? Because my thought process is not just being survival mode, but thriving, right? A thrival type of mode where I'm not just stuck here and just taking whatever it is, like even if it's grief, right? Some people say I haven't had time to grieve, but I just learned how to deal with it. I just keep. It's like they're in this type of survival mode.
Yeah. That's where you hear the expression, that's all I know, right? That's all I know, right? And we have normalized. When I say we, I mean our culture. We have normalized the survival mode as a badge of honor, you know, as if to say this is what we're used to. And so wherever we are, we recreate that environment to then be in survival mode. Doesn't matter if it's the workspace sometimes, in our relationships, in our family. Thanksgiving is coming up. There's going to be a lot of turmoil because people are in that mind frame. And when you're in that mind frame, remember, right? This is what is called a dysregulated mind, right? This is work of Dr. Bruce Perry. He wrote a book with Oprah Winfrey called What Happened to You. Very good book. I would suggest it for a lot of people in our community to go check out that book, What Happened to You by Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey. But in that book, he described the dysregulated mind. This mind is a mind that isn't at its optimal self, meaning this mind isn't at its functional IQ capacity. It's not at its capacity to then recognize the time frame and how it operates. And then it's in survival mode, meaning it's in that space where the autonomic nervous system kicks in, when you are in survival mode, fight, flight, or freeze. And the damage that is done in that space without our knowledge starts with our hearts working overtime, right? Our hearts working overtime. We show up in a space where we're anxious, you know, we're angry underneath the surface, we're sad underneath the surface, we're grieving underneath the surface, but we don't show it. It's happening on the inside. And so how it manifests through our language, it manifests through our interactions, it manifests through sometimes our facial expressions. Some people can't hide it. It manifests in our day-to-day conversations. It manifests in our conflicts. It manifests in how we resolve problems. And so a lot of people think this is normal, right? Because that's how my mom did it. That's how my dad did it. This is how it happened in my community. That's not the safest space for us. You are talking about high levels of adrenaline and cortisol in your system, high levels of adrenaline puts you in that survival mode. High level of cortisol is the stress hormone that then creates unhealthy cravings, that then creates high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all these things that aren't healthy for us, making us more susceptible to diseases, making us more susceptible to then create that in our children, the next generation that's watching us, because in our dysregulated mind, our IQ is down, so we're more likely to make mistakes in our parenting, on our work, on our day-to-day tasks, in our driving, right? Road rage, all of this is about not being able to regulate your mind and your heart in real time. First thing is acknowledgement. How often do we check in with ourselves to understand where we are? What that means is that, am I safe? Is my heart overworking? What are the thoughts that have been occupying my mind? What are the results of the emotions from those thoughts that are occupying my mind? How then do I show up in the world with those thoughts and these emotions that are occupying myself? Is this the best for me? If the answer is yes, please proceed, move, pass, go, collect your $200. But if the answer is no, then there's work to be done. There's work to be done by finding what do you need to then get back to that regulated mind, that calm state, that bliss state, that thriving state that you said, where our intellectual capacity is high, where our acknowledgement and understanding of time, meaning you don't write checks that you can't cash when you're calm and when you have a clear mind. But when you're dysregulated, man, we're saying all types of things that we don't really mean by the heart or by the mind state. But because we're here and we're in a space where we're not necessarily in control, the autonomic system is in control and you're in survival mode, right? So whatever's in front of you is going to get the brute end of what your experiences are. You know, the expressions is we always hurt the ones we love, not because we love them, because of proximity. In that proximity, if I'm not doing well, those around me are going to suffer because I'm there, right? So I'm going to hurt people because I'm hurting.
Matt, you said a couple of very valuable things.
Yeah.
You mentioned the holidays. We all know that the holidays are another time when we go into that mode of depression or even
Holiday
self-pity
blues.
sometimes because you're missing loved ones that may have been with you last year that aren't here, or maybe those haven't been with you further than that. I want you to touch on that, but I also want to say to you, I applaud you because you just mentioned the stress, the high blood pressure, and you mentioned it from a cultural point of view.
Right.
And I think that that's really important when you talk to people that look like you, that can relate to you, because a lot of times when those symptoms come, you know, people lead you to believe, oh, well, it's your diet. And they don't mention, well, it could be, you know, the environment, your stress levels. It could be a combination of all the things you're going through. You know, the first thing they say is, okay, well, your blood pressure is high because you're eating all the wrong things. Go lose 25 pounds. And that's not just it. It's more to it than that. So I applaud you for bringing that out as well.
Yeah, that's
you know what, MJ? That's why I asked the question, because I know a lot of us can get stuck in that survival mode where we become numb, just like Matt was saying. You know, we don't feel it. We just get comfortable in that space, and we just start making decisions, and those decisions have repercussions because we're not thinking soundly. And it's not only hurting the other people, it's hurting us, because now we're worried like, oh man, I made this stupid decision and now I don't have X, Y, and Z to cover it, you know, writing those checks that I can't cash type thing. And I'm glad you brought that out, because it is, I think in our culture especially, it is more mentally driven, because we don't know how to move forward and heal, and we start making decisions. We have this attitude, and we talked about practice, right? So that thing becomes a part of us, and now it's the way we live, it's the way we see things, but not necessarily saying that this is a healthy way of living.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. I think one of the first things we have to understand is that wellness is our birthright. You know, like, I think sometimes we've accepted these things as normal because this is the hands we've been dealt, but there's more to life than what we've been experiencing. And when we understand wellness as a birthright, then it is something for you to reclaim. Go get back the wellness. The wellness of mind, the wellness of heart, the wellness is that's in your body. We all deserve that, right? And MJ, I think I told the story before, really quickly before I answer the holiday question. This is important because when I first got introduced to psychology, I was introduced by a terminology called learned helplessness. And once I heard that terminology, I was like, what does that even mean? How does these two words find their way together as a compound word? How do you learn how to be helpless? And what I learned about the terminology is that it's a state that our minds go into where we start to then accept the most hopeless and helpless situation as our own normalcy, right? We do this in our relationships. We might be in an unhealthy relationship, an abusive relationship. We do this in our communities. Our communities are being run down, aren't healthy for us. We do this in our workspaces. They may not be healthy for us. We do this in a lot of things. But we accept that to be our truth, as if to say there is no better reality. There's no wellness that is coming from me, or there's no other space where I will be accepted as better than to have a different reality. And that is not the case. Where you are, you have value. And you deserve to be well. It doesn't matter what your past experiences are, what grievance you've done in the past. You deserve wellness right now. That is your birthright. So we have to reclaim that and understand that you deserve to be well, right? Don't stay there. It's not good for you. It's not healthy for you. And it's not helping anyone to then stay there longer than you need to. I think everyone is a teacher for us. When you learn that lesson from that person, thank that person and give them the deuces, right? And so for the holiday part, which I love, like I lost a great friend of mine when I was in my PhD program right before Thanksgiving, and it was such a tragic loss for me that it derailed my career for 2 years. I stepped away from the mental health field for 2 years because I was grieving so much and I felt responsible for it. This young man was a friend from high school, went to college together. When we moved back to South Florida, he lived right down the street from myself. He would come to my house, visit my first child. I would go to his house. And so we had a close relationship. When we lost him, I say we because it was a village of young men. When we lost him, we all grieved, but we didn't grieve together. Some of us didn't even get professional help. But then when the memories come up, during the holidays, you can still feel the thickness of how some of us may not have managed it correctly, how it's still impacting us because of the holidays and how we would love to have spent some time with them. But what I chose to do and what I teach people how to do is then highlight some of the best parts of that person's memory. Call that person's name, right? We do that with other experiences, but call that person's name. His name was Keno Thompson. And a lot of people in South Florida knows that name because he was a pillar in South Florida and he was a pillar in Tallahassee, for a lot of young people. And when he came back, he was a pillar down here. He had a videography business. He did work for my wife when she worked for Miami Union Academy. He did their video graduation. He put on a great video production for them. It was a kindergarten graduation, but it felt like a movie when he was complete with it. He did a lot of great things. And so when I think about him, I don't just think of him and then feel only the sadness. I remember the joyful memory. I remember his voice. I remember his personality. I remember his smile. I remember all the kind of things he did. I remember all the things that he taught me. I remember all of those things, and that's still value. So during the holidays, I would suggest that we talk, we share, we laugh, we cry, we do all those things. We even get angry, but you don't do it in isolation. Do it with the people who value you and value the memories of that person as well. Find collectives, find family members and friends where you can share these stories and not feel rushed and not feel pressured and not feel judged by you still holding close the memory of somebody that was valuable to you.
So it's not a bad thing to grieve together.
It's not a bad thing at all. I think we should do that more often, right? That's what we're doing today. When we talk about veterans, when we talk about all the people we lost, that's what we do. And then some of us, we share photos. That's a positive thing. It's good to be remembered, right? A simple movie, I think it was Coco, one of those movies from Disney or something like that, where they talk about that people have two deaths. The first death is the physical death. The second death is the last time someone mentions your name, And so who are we still calling on that we miss, And we missed them. So what? That person was valuable to me. You don't want me to just forget about them like they had no space in my life, but that's what we're taught, how to then manage our grief. Get over it. Forget about it. You got to let it go. Take the pictures down. You can't even, what? That doesn't make sense. You're talking about a part of my heart that is still allocated to that person, right? Don't rush me through this process. Allow me to manage this in a way that makes sense for me. So if I want to talk about it and you don't want to listen, go somewhere else. But if there are people that will listen, share and laugh and cry, right? But have a good time doing it. The grief doesn't have to be this hard space where we're just stuck between these two realities of what you left behind and where you're afraid to go. Be everywhere, meaning still share the value that was there. You know, share the stories, share the memories, and then put expectations. What will the memory of this person then bring out of you in the future, right? Because this young man passed, became my passion to then help more Black men in mental health, you know? And so this story doesn't end with his passing. The story continues on, and me as a therapist now providing services for young Black men.
Wow. So is there a such thing as you've been grieving too long? I see where you took it and you turned it into a positive, but is there a such thing as grieving too long?
I don't think so, right? What I said is that if you can do it in a healthy way, then what is a time frame, right? What is a lifetime of saying that I still miss the person, right? Because when something of value isn't there, some people will be bugging over a watch, right? Oh, my arm feels naked. I can't, you know, and it's just, you know, that's material. But when you talk about the essence of a person, right? I never met Bernie Mac, but I miss him greatly, right? I miss Bernie Mac greatly. Just the sound of his voice would just bring some joy to my life. These are people that we still miss, but they're not here, and it's okay, right? Red Fox, right? All these pioneers from back in the day. I miss these. I'm also, like I said, Donny Hathaway, Bill Withers, right? You know, I listen to their records and I'm like, man, I wish I could have seen these people live, you know? And so there is no real time. What I would say is do it in a healthy way to where it's not causing you to stay in that unhealthy state. Meaning, I've even tell people how to schedule their grief. If it's so heavy for you, then take some time out of your day, out of your week, allocate an hour, you know, and this time I'm going to be in my feelings. I'm going to cry. I'm going to yell. I'm going to do all those things. But when that time is up, get back to reality, meaning go back to the phase and grieve if you want to. But when that time frame is up, get back to reality, get back to your healthy self, get back to the things that will allow you to work through yourself and get back to your higher self, meaning going out with friends, planning things, you know, celebrating yourself, celebrating the holidays, and then seeing what is valuable right then and there. What is in my presence that I can be grateful for that will allow me to detach from just looking backwards and allow me to be present and feel value right where I am.
You know what, MJ, though, and I know, let me just say this, but this is what I think helped me because, you know, when I went from the state, I've been there years. These people have become family to me. And I did go through my sense of grief. I did, because now I didn't know how to channel without them. And
look at MJ's face. What's up?
Yeah, MJ's face, because MJ didn't let me grieve, right? He was like, oh, just forget them. Just forget about them. It's over that. But you have to understand, this has been years of relationship. This has been years of working together. This has been years of everything, you know, pretty much. And when you meet solid people, great people that have been part of your life, it's just hard to just kind of leave them and move on to something else. So it's like, I was more like, why we all can't be family? You know, why we all can't just get along? And he wasn't willing to share. But, you know, I had to go through those moments and times where I kind of had to talk it out and still talk to them from time to time, you know, just to kind of get out that mode.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, I think we're in the business of burning bridges sometimes. And we don't have to, you know, we really don't have to. We can still stay connected to different people. For example, this is a tough one for me to say, but when people get a divorce, they are so angry with each other. When they break up in relationships, they're so angry. Why? Why do you have to be so bitter? You were in love. You were in a space where you actually valued that person. Now leaving that person doesn't have to be like such an angry, sad occasion. You can do that in a different way, but it's the spirit that you call on, right? I was this
Depends
mind
on
being
what
you.
they take when they go with them, Matt.
Right. That's what I'm hearing, right? All these things about what they take, the attorneys and all that. It doesn't have to be that way. This is what the world has set up for us to believe we have to do. But there are amicable ways because I valued you and I value the time. And we can share a reality where we don't have to be enemies, where we don't have to have angst in our heart, unforgiveness in our heart. When we carry that stuff, it doesn't hurt anybody else but yourself first. And then the remnants of that is projected on those who are close to you because we have unforgiveness in our heart. So forgive, right? Forgive.
Yes, I forgive you.
MJ, I forgive you too.
Oh, there we go. That was so
Are we
beautiful.
besties again?
Nope. I said I forgive you.
We're making progress.
Hey, it's some more in them that need to come out, man.
We're making progress. I felt some progress today. Right?
We made one step.
That's good for me. That's a good day at the office for me.
Matt, real quick before we get ready to wrap up, we still have a little time to go. How should an adult help a kid that's grieving or going through?
Yeah, good question.
That's a totally different animal. They feel differently. They process differently. How should we help them get through?
They learn from us, they learn from us. And so how we grieve sometimes is a mirror to them on how they should proceed. And so when we bottle it up, they're thinking it's okay to bottle it up too. If we don't cry, if we don't acknowledge it, then they think it's okay too. So these are conversations that we have to have with our children on their level, meaning sitting down with them, taking the time to hear where they are and what their understanding of grief, loss, even death is, and what their relationship to these understandings are. And the more we take the time to speak to them, the more we can understand how to show up for them in a healthier way. But it starts with us. The example is, how do we acknowledge our grief, our sadness? And then do we invite them in to say, hey, listen, Dad is not doing well. I had to tell my kids that I was grieving the loss of my best friend's mom. I had to tell my kids that. And one of my daughters said, it's okay, Dad. You can ugly cry. It's okay, right? Her giving me consent also gives her consent when the time comes for her to feel, to acknowledge, to process, and go through that journey of grief on her own with the support of family members and friends, that is, And so we lead by example. We talk, we understand, and then we create the atmosphere where they can feel safe enough to talk about what it is for them. During the pandemic, my kids were suffering from grief. They lost one of their close teachers, a young lady from South Florida who I went to school with her sister, didn't even know it. Or I had some relationship to her sister and I didn't even know it. But the point is, they felt that loss. They were like, she's not going to come back. She's not coming back. And we're like, no, she's not. She's not coming back, And I went to the memorial. I shared pictures with my kids. I didn't take them because they weren't necessarily old enough to be in those spaces just yet. But I understand that they felt it. And so I've even written a book, a children's book. I don't have a copy right here in front of me, but it's right close by. It's called Have a Good Day, that teaches kids how to acknowledge when they're not in a safe space, when they're in a stressful mind, and then process that to get back to the healthier brains. It was a response to my kids during the pandemic. And so I'm thinking, how can we then set our kids up for success by learning how to rechannel their own emotions, reframe their own mental spaces to get back to the healthier brain where stress isn't a factor, where anxiety isn't a factor, where fear isn't a factor.
MJ, do you want to do a check here? Because I see we have some people joining.
All right, we're going to do a reset. You are watching Conversations with Them Too. I'm MJ. She is
Lady Des.
And we're talking to Dr. Matt Genius, who happens to be a guru when it comes to therapy. Right now, we're talking a lot about healing and depression, but that's not all he does. He is licensed for marriage and family. He deals with men issues. He's the one that I talk to when, things seem to go dark, except for Des, because I can't seem to get, okay, I'm getting off track. Sorry about that. But yes.
Because I'm the light in the world.
Yeah. So Matt, I just mentioned some of the things that you do, but if you would, why don't you take a moment and give us more in depth of all of the whole smorgasbord of Matt Genius?
How much time we have, right? So, first of all, I love being with you two. I have to admit that, man. You two bring the best out of me because your questions are so rich, and I
Thank
think you
you.
feed off your audience as well to know where they are to then pull out some of those deep questions that get the right type of answers out. My name is Matt Genius. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm a husband of 16 years. I'm a father of 7 beautiful children. I'm an author because my kids made me become an author. They love my bedtime stories so much that they told me to write stories. And so I became a children's author. I have 4 books out. I'm also a
Oh,
musician. I have music out on Apple Music, Spotify, you name it. I'm also a trainer. You know, I come to where you are, do workshops, trainings when it comes to relationship. I have a great relationship package for churches or organizations that have couples. I have a great one called The Intimacy of Thriving, right? And so I have that. And I'm also a trainer for a different organization called Race Realities, where we take a group of men to Costa Rica twice a year. It's going to be in May, I think, in October of next year. And we take these men on a retreat that's not just mental, that's not just physical, it's also spiritual, it's also emotional, it's all those things. So when you come back, you're recharged and you're reset to take on this reality, which we're talking about right now in a healthier and better way.
awesome, awesome. And we want to say hello to Mary Russell Hankins. She's watching. Thank you so much. Our friend Glenn Payne, he tried to take my bestie, but we can share. We can share. Hey, Glenn. And our girl Talisha. Talisha Ty Live. Yes, Ty Live is watching. She says, Team Matt, he's the best. 3 of my favorite people. I love you all. We love you too, Ty. Glenn says, family besties. That's right. Let's all just work together cohesively. MJ just not getting that. And Mary is just saying hello. So hello.
Again, Matt said that he was a couples counselor. We are a couple, but we are not together. We ain't together.
I do that too. I do that too. Yeah.
But we got some issues.
I call it relational therapy. So it goes from just being acquaintance, co-workers, whatever it is, it's a relationship. And so I help people navigate those relationships.
Awesome. And
Definitely.
you know what?
All right,
We're
Matt,
about
so
that.
then-
We're about building those healthy relationships, Matt, because I think that's an area where a lot of people struggle. And it goes back to what you said. It just doesn't affect you health-wise. Sometimes it just affects your relationship and how you see it and how you see things because of mental traumas or different things that you have gone through life. So I think building those healthy relationships is very important. And you as a therapist targeting those areas because in this life, we just need to have healthy relationships consistently around us.
I love when we're healthy. You know, when we're healthy, we shine even brighter. You know,
Yes.
Our smiles are brighter, our skin are, you know, you get that glow. You're like, what's going on with you, right? Good relationships, right? Good relationships, good people around you. You know, you have people that welcome you, that sees you, that welcome you with their eyes. You know, when people see me and their eyes light up, that's the audience I want to be around. Those are the people I want to be around where I feel safe in my mental, my emotional, and my spiritual self.
Well, her eyes used to light up, but that's another story. So we'll come back to that another time.
See, I've been trying to keep it positive.
It's like no matter what you do or say, I'm better.
By the way, I have
it's my expectations.
I have a gift for your audience. I have these books in my office, and I do want to give a gift to your audience. So I'm going to give away 4 books to whoever of your choice. You can randomly select people. But I want to give away 4 of those books that I mentioned. Have a good day. I'm going to get them down to you guys, and you can pass them out to whoever you decide to. But I want to make sure that I share my blessings with you guys. And I'm an author, so I have these books. Let's give away some books. So how would you select 4 people from your audience to then give these books to?
Awesome. Thank you. MJ.
Oh. See, there you go. MJ, always put me on the spot.
I'm gonna let you make that decision.
Anybody, I mean, it could be your number one fans.
So,
It could be
okay,
people
so
who are.
okay, so what we'll do, Des, is we'll take the first two people that inbox you, and all they have to do is say, "I want the book," and then we'll take the first two people that inbox me and say, "I want the book," and there you have it, 4 books right there.
Let me get
There
the
you
books
go.
to just hold on 1 second.
Okay. So did y'all hear that? Matt is giving away 4 books to our audience. We appreciate him for doing that. So if you want the book, the first 2 people that inbox me, "I want the book," then we'll be sending you over a book, okay? And the first 2 people that inbox MJ, "I want the book," you'll be able to receive the book. Have a good
There
day.
it is right
MJ,
there.
you need that book. You need that book, MJ. Have a good day.
Okay, Matt, send 5.
Look,
What's the other one, Matt?
It's the same book. It's Have a Good Day. I have other books here as well, but this is the book that I was talking about on the show. So this is the book that I want to make available. But I do have other books available. I have another book called When the Tablets Ran Away. It talks about helping kids have a healthy relationship with their devices. I have another book that talk about going to school every day, giving the kid a best chance to then have academic success by being in school every day. And I have the last book I wrote is called The Dark Inside You. It's about kids who have anxiety about the darkness, which I know a lot of us growing up did. And so most of my books have the relationship between father and son. That dynamic plays out. And so it gives fathers a chance to then have an opportunity to read to their sons or daughters to then have a greater relationship. But these are great books, so let me know. And I'll get these books down there for you. Here's that chart that I was telling you about to help the kids reset right there. It takes them through it, an easy map right there, and it's in the book available. So I will have 5, not 4. One for MJ, right?
Yes, love it.
Definitely.
You know what? I know our time is running out, but Matt, I have a quick question in reference to our children and social media. And
Des, before you do that, because why don't we do another show and we dedicate that to the kids themselves? That way we can give the parents a whole hour where we just talk about the kids and Matt and all of that, because that is really, really important that we talk about the kids in social media, the kids in dealing with everyday life, the kids in grief. So if you would, why don't we do another show whenever Matt's available that we dedicate just to the kids?
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good, because I believe that would channel into some other things, especially with our kids committing suicide, cyberbullying, and some other things that our children are. Listen, they're just so open to at this age, at such a young age, should I say? So definitely, let's do that.
I'm open for it. This is anti-bullying week, so this is a great time to actually bring that up. Whenever you guys are ready, I'll make myself available for this important topic.
Awesome.
Right, most definitely. So family and friends, y'all look forward to real soon, within the next couple of weeks, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about, the kids and cyberbullying and Des and cyberbullying, because she's been bullying me all day. And we're going to talk about how to get the kids, over that threshold. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah. Throw your hands up. So Matt, before we let you go, I want you to, tell us the key to finding a great therapist, and then tell us how we can get in contact with you, the great therapist.
Got you. Well, search no more. You found one. That's number one. That's number one. But honestly, you can go to Psychology Today, which is a great website. Put in your zip code. They have a lot of different filters, from ethnicity to religious orientation. They get really specific, gender, all these different things that you decide. Then you can filter out based on your zip code, and then it would narrow it down to a selected few that you can select from. Call, interview, and even if you go to a session and it doesn't work out, try someone else. Don't give up on this process until you find someone. And of course, start with prayer. where you can find me. You can find me at All Things Matt Genius right there at the bottom right there, MATJEANIUS. On all social platforms. You can also find me at my website, Genius Consulting, Genius spelled the way my last name is spelled right there, consultingllc.com, where you can render all of our services. We also have our books on that website as well, where you can purchase them, or you can find them on Amazon. Either one is fine. And then you can find me on all music platforms at Matt Genius. And MJ, I do have a couple of songs that are coming out really soon, so I can't wait to share them with you as well.
Okay, there you have it. There you have it. Family and friends, it's been another fantastic evening
Yes.
of talking about how to start healing. The one and only therapist himself, Matt Genius, along with Lady Des and myself. Listen, it's all about helping each other get to the next level. We're all hurting some way, some shape, some form, some fashion. But look, Matt told you, you don't have to stay there. We can help each other get through it and get over it. But the first step is you taking a step. And once you take that step, then the doors will truly open. Lady Des, listen, I'm full. I'm done. I thank you, Matt. We definitely appreciate you. Des, we need counseling.
We sure do. I'm up for it. I'm up for it. Whatever. Listen, whatever will cause MJ to heal, I want to be a part of that.
Oh my God!
You're the purpose of the pain.
I sound like SWV when the cause and cure is you. Oh man, the cause and cure is you.
Oh God! Wow. But thank you so much, Matt. Listen, everybody, we would love for you to like and share this video because, listen, it will definitely help you. Matt is an amazing therapist. He's very down to earth. I love him. And listen, I have recommended him to so many people. I don't know if they reached out to you, Matt, but I have recommended you to so many people just because of your wisdom, you know, your tenacity and your love for mental health and just wanting to see people in that healing space. So I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight on this platform.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I always enjoy my time with you too, so I can't wait to come back.
Definitely. All right, family and friends, once again, thank you guys for taking part of conversations with them too, the Shenanigan crew, Lady Des, and yours truly, MJ. Listen, if you guys have any topics, any show ideas you want us to talk about, just drop them in the DMs. We will read and consider each and every one. And then if we get stuck, we'll call Matt for assistance because he will definitely help us out. But listen, we bid you love and we bid you peace, and you can catch us each and every Monday right here. And don't forget, get that book. Have a good day. And also, the first 2 people to inbox Lady Des, I want that book. We'll send you a book. The first 2 people to inbox me, I want that book. You will get the book. Have a good day. They got 5 copies, but we're only giving out 4 because I have to read them. Thank you, Lady Des.
And they will be signed. I will sign all of them for you guys as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Doesn't get any better than that. Doesn't get any better than that. All right, family. Well, until next Monday, until we do this again, Matt, once again, thank you. So we definitely appreciate you. Des, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Peace and blessings.